Streamy dooby doo. What is it doing? Is it trying to autofocus? Hold on. I hate it when it tries to pulse like that. I don't want you to autofocus. No, don't autofocus. There, much better. Okay. Hey, hi. How are you? This is Chris. We're doing fine here, thank you. How are you doing? When last I left off, it was getting very late at night, and I was worried about the quality of the work. And I can look at it now and see that, yeah, I was kind of right. Hello, Top Turtle. Welcome. So I've got a few things that I want to potentially address and fix. It's a little frustrating that I did this, but I was getting tired, and I let myself make some mistakes. You know, what can you do? It happens. Maybe I can make it look better. Maybe not. We will see. No time like the present, right? So let's kick things off. Sugar bear. I have Elton John in my head today, quite a bit. I don't know why, but that's okay. I like Elton John. Let me just see. I want it to be about here. Yeah, okay. I've got a window that I need to close, so I'm going to reach across my drawing. Hello, Geek Workshop. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Nice to have everybody here. And yeah, so whatever. I got some work to do here to get this looking better. What was I thinking last night? This and this really bother me, but whatever. Hello, Fanboys Rain. Is this focused? You know what? Tell you what. It's too far away for the details that I'm drawing. I know I'm reaching across the video again. I'm going to zoom in a little. And yeah, I guess that's about as good as I can get with this camera. So, where was I? I was working on some tires. I guess I don't love doing these without an elliptical template, but I don't have an elliptical template, so wish me luck. Don't have an elliptical template. That just does not look like it's focused to me. Let me see if I can adjust this some more. What can I do? Yeah, sure. Can you run on over, Fanboys Rain? Thank you. I will borrow your template. That would be lovely. That would be great. I don't know why this looks like it's not in focus to me. It's the best I can do right now. That's frustrating, though. We'll just muddle along somehow. We'll muddle through somehow. Merry Christmas, everyone, by the way. I'll just get that out of the way now, and that way in 10 months I won't have to remember. Unprofessional, unsubbed. Well, you know, I am who I am. Fanboys Rain says he doesn't live that far away. How do you know where I live? That's creepy. Geek Workshop, do you watch YouTube yourself, or do you just make videos? I watch a bunch of YouTube. I don't watch other comic book related content because I don't want to get influenced by other reviewers. Like if they've got their own special games or gimmicks or features to their shows, I don't want to feel like if I'm doing something similar that I'm outright copying it. It would just be parallel thinking. So I don't watch that, but I watch a lot of news. I'll watch live streams of some of my favorite, like, you know, an animator or an artist. That includes Twitch as well. I will. What else do I watch? I watch like late night talk show stuff like Conan, Seth Meyers, Last Week Tonight. I watch all that stuff on YouTube for the most part. I just yeah. There's just channels that I like. I mean, this is a channel. I'm drawing this for a friend who has a channel where he reviews G.I. Joe figures. So, yeah. Yeah, I watch YouTube. I love YouTube. It's addictive. Let me just answer my fiance who is texting me. She's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm live streaming." We stay in touch. We're in the same house. She's like, "Where are you?" It's not that big of a place. I know it was a joke, Top Turtle. Don't worry. I watch comic tropes and recognize areas in your videos. Uh-oh. Have you ever thought about streaming games? No, I've never really considered that. I don't know how interesting that would be. I mean, I love playing video games, but right now I don't have like a lot of money, so I don't have like, you know, the current like popular stuff. I don't have Monster Hunter World, for instance. I'm still playing like Grand Theft Auto 5 or what else? Destiny 2 if I'm playing something, or maybe I'm playing like Super Mario Odyssey, but you know, I can't do speed runs or anything. I don't have a lot of advice to give anybody, so I've never really considered doing that. Also, I'd feel like if I started doing, what do you call it, like video game streaming, those people, once they get like a bunch of subscribers, they really have to like keep it up, because otherwise viewers will just leave for a similar channel, you know what I mean? So they have to, they're obligated to like produce a lot of content, and it's already hard for me to put out like one comic tropes a week. With the amount of like writing I have to do for it. Hello Diego, hello Keith. Nice to have some folks here. It's been a while since I've had the chance to catch you live. Well, welcome. I'm glad you were able to swing by. Some of today's drawing might not be the most exciting because I've got a lot of blacks to sort of spot, so I'm sure that's not going to be that exciting to see. Just how it is. But who knows, maybe we'll fall into an interesting conversation or something. The art of conversation. Maybe I'll think of an old story to tell from my life. Chrissy, the audio is clipping a little. Maybe move the volume bar. Okay, let's see. Where's that? Is that here? Properties. No? Advanced properties, maybe? Let's see. Does that sound any better? I think I did what I need to do. I'm not 100% sure. You have the same pen? Yeah, I mean, everybody, I think, has Pigma Microns, right? Like, they're a pretty popular liner. They hold up pretty well for a little while. Get my use out of them. This might end up all black, but I'm just sort of drawing in an ellipse to indicate motion, and then I can cover it up with black if I feel that I need to. Hello, were you going to adjust my audio?
It's just that one that's showing right there. You see that how there's a little bar on the very bottom? No.
Oh, this?
Yeah, you can slide that. Yeah, that's probably too much. Like, you can probably do half that.
Like 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Minus 6 decibels.
It was just when you were really close to the mic, it was clipping.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you. Appreciate the advice.
Oh, sure.
Hello, TARDIS Rider. Hello, Miles Durkee. Wow. Nice. Oh, only 6 people, but everybody's talking. How lovely. You could have fooled me into thinking there were more people in here. But I know how to read numbers. Have for a while now. This isn't the best way to fill in a black. I need to use a brush or a thicker pen. So, what's good with all y'all? Gentle. I'm still prepping for my trip to Japan and Hong Kong in 3 weeks, and so yesterday I put out on my social media that I'm willing to sell any of my sketches or paintings or anything, some people have expressed a little bit of interest there. Then I said I'd sell some of my Legos. There was a lot of interest there. So, yeah, if you're interested in any sort of art that you've seen me put together, or now's the time to reach out, because I'm selling everything, and I'll probably make the best offer I can, because I just need some spending money for my trip, and I have none. But no pressure if you're not in a financial situation to help. Like, you're under zero obligation, and I'll muddle through somehow. I'm trying to be frugal these days, not spend much. I get a small amount of money from the YouTube show, but I put all of that to an account for just stuff I need for the show, like paying for like the editing program software each month, and also what do you call it? The actual comics, of course, maybe a prop, and of course the money doesn't cover all of that, so I go through it pretty fast. But it all goes to the show, anything I make for there. And I'm just trying to look for money for myself, so I'm trying to sell my art and my Legos. Legos, bye Legos. Pneumonia. Jeez, sorry to hear that, Keith. That sounds rough. Yeah, yikes. Midnight live stream. Is this midnight for you, Aldi? Let's see, it's 3 o'clock here. forget, are you in Germany? Where would it be midnight right now? I have trouble remembering where everybody's from, sorry. I'm bad at stuff like that, and I'm bad at names. I've always been bad at remembering names. I mean, if I see someone, I remember their personality, their job, things like that, details about them. I'm quite bad at remembering their actual name, and people don't like that. Geek Workshop asks, what is the worst injury you've ever gotten? And Aldi says, das ist korrekt. I did remember correctly. Germany. Deutschland. What was the worst injury I ever received? I've been pretty lucky. I haven't had any humongous slashes or breaks. And the ones that I have had happened when I was pretty young, so I don't really remember even that well, most of it. When I was a kid, I know I fell and I broke my collarbone, or I fractured it. I don't know if that's the same as a break. I don't notice anything about that now, and I was pretty young. I can't even really remember that one. My family just tells me that happened. And one time when I was like a preteen, a kid pushed me down his brick stairs, and I've got a like sort of Harrison Ford type of scar under my chin. So you can't really see it unless I'm shaved, and then I lean back so that you can look. But yeah, there's a scar under there. But that's about it. I don't have any terrible injuries. I've broken some fingers in my nose. Broken some fingers when I used to like rock climb. Sometimes you sort of used to, you'd put your fingers into a crack in the rocks, and then you can do this thing where you sort of twist your hand, and it sort of like forms like a lock almost, like your knuckles all get bunched up, so you can sort of lean back and pull yourself up. And so every once in a while you might sort of like break a finger. It's not the worst. It doesn't like swell up that bad. It's more like it gets disjointed. But that was a long time ago too. That was more like when I was like in my 18 to 20, so it's been a long time. And then broke my nose once. I trained for several years in Krav Maga, and one guy, like, I forget what drill we were doing now, but like say the pads that I'm holding are maybe down here, and he totally missed through an elbow, and I wasn't able to like block it because I'm like focusing down here for a specific drill, and he just like gave me an elbow across the nose, and I was like so mad. I was like ready to, like, I didn't drop. I was proud of myself that I didn't like just get dropped. I just stood there with like my nose swelling, and I really wanted to just like punch that guy back so hard for messing up that bad. And the instructor was like, Jesus, you're lucky that this guy, and he's pointing at me, like didn't lose his temper and just hit you, because I wouldn't have gotten mad at him for that. And I was just like, no, it's all right, it happens. But anyway, yeah, so no big injuries, though. Nothing that major. No, like, broken arm or broken rib or anything. I've been thinking of live streaming my art as well, says Fanboys Ring. What type of camera do you use? Let's see. A Logitech HD 1080p for this guy here. And then this is just some sort of like a generic, it says creative, but just some sort of webcam. Yeah. Miles says last time he was watching me, he fell asleep in his chair. That's flattering, right? No, that's funny. I think I'm well known for my ability to soothe people gently to sleep. All is well. Just lay back and listen to my soothing voice, and we'll all go to sleep. Yeah, my injury stories are more like about getting sick. You know, getting really, really sick. I had an attack of vertigo once, and for like 2 solid weeks, I couldn't get out of bed really. Like everything was constantly spinning, constantly, 24/7. And I would just try to lay as still as I possibly could, which led to my body like being really cramped up, or like my ear hurting because I'd lay on my side for so long. It hurt so bad. Just crawling to the bathroom because everything's spinning. That was scary. I was like, is this going to ever end? But it did go away, so it must have been an infection of the inner ear. That was bad. That was really scary and rough. But anyway, I guess I've been pretty lucky. No serious injuries. Got mono, and that means that like I always have something called the Epstein-Barr virus in my system, and it does definitely make me exhausted kind of all the time, but you get used to that. It's not the worst thing in the world. That's about it, I think. Good icebreaker question. Wish I had a better story. Good question. I'll take a look at the chat in just a sec. Just feathering some of these tires, trying to give the idea of them spinning. Constantly spinning, spinning, spinning to a brighter future. All right, let's see. Top Turtles also says, never broken a bone in my life. Miles says, a blow to the face will piss me off faster than any kind of hit. Instant rage. Yeah, for anybody. Like a punch to the head. Oh my God, it makes you so angry. It's amazing. Like the instinct just totally kicks in, and you have to really focus to calm down. So I still remember that. That jerk. What a jerk that guy was. He hit me. Don't like. I don't know what I'm doing there. Let's see, what else? The only serious injuries I've ever had have been to my pride, says TARDIS Rider. Yeah, I've had a few of those. I would say more in my college days, when I would maybe drink a little bit more than I do today. Which I actually don't drink much at all anymore. Despite what my videos may have led you to think, I actually don't really drink much. But when I was a lad, different story. Different story. Let me see what else people are saying. Hello, Keelan. Thank you for joining. Mark Eldude, thank you for joining. Just got here. Howdy again. Glad I could make it. Your art and videos have been great. Well, thank you. Cosmos joins. Nice to be here today. Well, it's nice to have you. McNuggy joins. Hello. Top Turtle says, random guy hits you in the face. Literally anyone. Go Super Saiyan. Now, I know those words, but I've actually never seen Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if there's a difference between those two things, but I've actually never seen those. I'm aware they exist. They've come up in basically research when I look into the history of certain manga. I know that they've been popular and they're a big influence to plenty of creators, but I myself have never seen any episodes or read any of their comics, so I'm a bit ignorant on that one. We all have our pop culture blind spots, right? Right. Do you have a favorite artist? Asks Darth Piet. Welcome, Darth Piet. It changes, I think. It changes. I go through different favorites. There have been times where I've really loved some classic artists like Wally Wood, Alex Toth, Will Eisner. Sometimes I'm obviously when I was a teenager in like the 90s, I thought that Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee were as good as it could get. Not really much of a fan anymore, but I have respect still for what they've accomplished. So, these days, let me think. I really like Sean Phillips. He works with Ed Brubaker a lot on crime stories, and I really do like Sean Phillips. He does some really great moody storytelling, which is perfect for sort of crime stories. I like his work a lot. Trying to think of sort of other popular artists today or something. I mean, I like Dave Johnson and Eric Kennett. I don't know how regularly they do comics these days. When he has time, I really like John Romita Jr. But if he rushes things, they can look weird. But if he has plenty of time, God, his stuff can be gorgeous. The Dragon Ball manga would be a good episode to see in the future. Maybe someday. Maybe. I'm actually probably going to discuss One Piece before that because it's actually the best-selling manga of all time. And I might do My Hero Academia at some point because I've read that one now. But Dragon Ball was an influence to a lot of people, so it's definitely something I could cover at some point. I just need to. It'd take a while to familiarize myself with it. What's the illustration today? Asks TARDIS Rider. Sorry, and I'm going kind of slow on it, but I'm having fun just chatting and taking my time. One of my friends is a guy that goes by the name Hooded Cobra Commander 788 on YouTube, and he reviews G.I. Joe action figures from when I was a kid. So we're about the same age, and the nostalgia pull there is really high because I used to really like G.I. Joe. So he and I have become friends, and I will frequently offer to maybe just like draw a sketch for his YouTube channel for like the title card, like the thumbnail that people see. I'm going to switch brushes. So I'm doing a G.I. Joe vehicle. It was called Mean Dog, apparently. I didn't have this one as a kid. But, yeah. Let's make sure I'm centered. So anyway, yeah, just drawing a vehicle based on a toy from the mid-'80s, I guess. Dragon Ball was the original 80s show, and Dragon Ball Z was the sequel in the 90s that more people saw. Oh, okay, interesting. Fanboy's Reign says that Liefeld is terrible, but he buys his stuff to make fun of it, but I'll buy anything with Jim Lee. That's fair. Jim Lee is still quite solid. Boy, this is bright against my face, isn't it? I need to, come up with, a screen here or something. I wonder if I could just sort of... if I just like tape a piece of paper. So I'll get to that some other day. My favorite artists are the sandwich artists at Subway, says Chrissy. They're so talented. They're so and not always recognized. Can you see why I'm going to marry that girl? She makes me laugh. Are you going to Emerald City this weekend? I am. I'm probably going to go on both Saturday and Sunday for a little while in like the afternoon. Not planning on seeing any particular panel, or really, I'm not really able to buy anything, but I want to swing by. I got a pro badge because I had a comic that came out within the last year. So I was able to get a pro badge, and it's closed. So, I'll just sort of go, I'll browse. I mean, maybe I'll find something in the dollar bins that I could review in Comic Tropes if I'm lucky. But mostly I'm just there to say hello to friends that I don't normally get to say from out of town or further out in the area. So, should be fun. Nintendo joins us. Good to see you. Looking nice, Chris. Thank you. And there's a James David Settle that joins us. I'd like you all to know I was mid-watch into Wednesday's Collider Heroes show to jump over here. So that's a sacrifice and a show of commitment to this channel. Thank you. I've got a friend that writes for Collider. He does like all their... he does a lot of Marvel stuff for them. The reviews of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or stuff about the movies. So I'm not sure. I don't think he works much on their video content, but I'm not sure. I guess I've never looked or asked. Because I am a terrible friend. Just, keep that in the back of your mind. This is the fun part. Like every G.I. Joe vehicle, this thing has more weapons than they could possibly ever use. Line of Characters joins us. This is getting to be a good room. Hello, welcome. Have you ever gone to Jet City Comic Show? Yeah, I've gone for I think the last 4 of them. I don't know if I've ever bought anything at them. It's a really small show. That's not a bad thing in and of itself. That almost came off like I was saying, oh, it's bad because it's small. I just, they don't really get big guests. I wish that they could just get something to draw more people in. It's really just like the local comic shops, some local crafters and artists, and I just have never really seen anything that exciting there. But I'm glad that Tacoma has a local comics convention. I just wish there was a little more to it. So basically I'm just whining. Ignore me. Ignore me! Now that I'm thinking of it, it's almost kind of weird to spot these blacks, because I'm going to color this, so maybe it's a waste of time, but sometimes you also need a little bit of a break to think of both the big picture and where the small details are needed, so sometimes it's nice to just take a quick break throwing down some blacks. Came off like Nirhachi. Nirhachi. Was Nirhachi the idol that Indiana Jones returned to that corrupt Asian businessman in Temple of Doom? Oh, TARDIS Rider's taking off. Purim festivities. Okay, well, thank you very much for stopping by. Let's see. Mark Eldude says, Liefeld gets a lot of heat, but he was polite and always on time, so you got to give him credit. And he's usually very polite and encouraging, so I can't hate on him. No, I think as a person, he's a very friendly, charming individual. I've met him. He wouldn't remember, but just seeing him at conventions and stuff. And I don't know if you mean like on time in terms of he shows up on time to conventions, because he's certainly not always on time with the artwork that he's promised. That stuff pretty late. But if you're talking about like, is he on time as a person, I suppose that's true. I had a table there last year. It was a lot of fun. My first time with a table at a con. Yeah, well, I think everybody, has an interesting time the first time they decide to table. I mean, that's a big step. Like, saying like, hey, I believe in my product. I wanna buy a table and put it out there into the world. That's awesome, man. That's from Fanboy's Reign. So since that came up, like, why don't you just tell us what you had at the convention? Did you self-publish or self-print a comic book, or do you have like pin-up art that you did? Go ahead and tell us what was going on with you at the Jet City Comic Con. Let's see. Nintendo says, I was just working on my Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider inking. I'll have to keep working on it to see if I'm really proud of it. Finished a Mysterio last week. Mysterio is an interesting and challenging character to illustrate because you got to give him something a little kind of weird to set him apart. James David Settle says that I must have said something like really small guy. So this Hachi was a really small guy. Temple of Doom isn't necessarily my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but I will say that all the action sequences in it are pretty fantastic. Like, it's hard for Spielberg to ever do a bad job on those, it seems. If he's going to put together an action sequence, it's going to be pretty entertaining. All right, this doesn't look good, so I'm going to color this in. Somehow that ellipse came at a contrasting angle, so I just had to get rid of it. I had to get rid of Dick Jones. Everybody know who Dick Jones was? You'd better. Fanboy's Reign. I had a comic that was published a few years ago, and I had sketch cards, prints, and promoting my upcoming webcomic. That's from Fanboy's Reign. So anybody that's here can sort of see what he's talking about in the chat. And if he mentions anything else, I'll try to take notice and pass it along as I continue to plug away at this drawing. You know what? I'm going to switch to... Oh no. I put my good brush pen next to my bad brush pen, so I can't remember which one is in good shape. I think I grabbed the right one. the melting face guy was tote. I remember. Whoa, Nintendo. Oh, okay, good. Fanboy Rain knows that Dick Jones was from Robocop. Good. Nintendo says, what I want to work on next is the melting face from Indiana Jones. Oh, forgot his name. That's why Fanboy's Rain says Todd. It's one of my favorite practical effects. I want to honor it in an inking. I don't know where my friend got it, but my friend has a wax sculpture that's Toad's face, and it's a candle, and he hasn't lit it yet, but I guess when you melt it, like, it's supposed to melt just like in the movie. I just told him, like, if you ever decide to light that, please have me over. I would like to see that. That really scared me when I was very young, but I loved the movie so much that I sort of jaded myself to it. I was like scared of it, but I wanted to see the whole movie, so I would just sort of suck it up and watch that moment and just be like, oh. It was the same thing as like a Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Large Marge. And, I mean, I was younger than 10 or something when those were out, so I don't know exactly how old, but just to give you an idea. It wasn't like I was like in my 20s going like, oh my god, oh, violence. McNugget, you've never seen Robocop? Listen, you can ignore every sequel, every remake, every TV show, every cartoon. Ignore all of that. The first Robocop is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's over the top in parts because it's a satire. It's such a good action movie. It's such a good character movie. It's got a fantastic script. Very, very tight script. Everything that happens moves the story forward. It escalates things. It's great. I love the original Robocop. I think there's a mic issue again, says Chrissy. Are you guys hearing a problem with my mic? David James Settle says, open a jewelry box or something with a stranger in the room before you light the candle. Open a cookie tin or something just for the effect. Oh, I will do that. I'll set the scene. Boy, I look really shiny. What is going on here? Look at my forehead. Why would it? I'm not bald. Why does my head look so shiny? It's because this light is so intense. Nintendo says that he's getting it too. Okay, hold on. Let me see if this helps at all. I'm adjusting the mic a little. I know I'm a little quieter now. Oh, wait, you heard a screech? I don't know why you guys would hear a screech. Yeah, Fanboys Rain, you're right. The Robocop origin scene is so violent, but that's what I mean by it sort of being a satire. Hello.
Hi.
So you think my audio is messed up?
I'm just wondering if you have the wrong mic selected.
Oh.
Does it, for the audio thing, does
Let's
it
see.
say that it's the C920 microphone?
C920, let's see.
Click the gear.
Yep. No.
So
Wait, yes,
Oh.
it does.
Then maybe it's like starting to die on us.
Oh, really? You think the webcam might be dying?
Yeah.
Alright.
It screeched for a while and then it just stopped screeching.
Oh, yeah, a few folks are saying, Keelan and James both say that it was like that, but it seems like it stopped.
It could just be on the fritz.
It was short pitch sound, half a minute. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, sorry. I mean, I can't hear that, guys. I set it up and I've tested things, but yeah, I'll test it again before I live stream next time.
Good idea.
Yeah. The first Robocop has yet to be topped by the sequels or reboot. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. In fact, like, I think that Robocop 2 is sort of watchable, but everything else that has the Robocop name on it, I just don't like at all. Like, Robocop 3 is a terrible movie. I watched the reboot. I hated it. I was just like, no, this isn't Robocop. I think you guys, like, totally missed what it was about. Totally missed it. My opinion, Some people may love it. I don't know. I don't know if they loved it or not. Any iteration of Robocop after the first film is pretty garbagey, even though Frank Miller wrote 2. He also wrote 3. Yeah. You'd think the reboot was awful, yeah. Second, Robocop was what took Frank Miller out of the screenwriting game for a long time. Well, that might be true, but I think it's sort of what got him in. I think that was the first movie that Frank Miller worked on was Robocop 2, because he also wrote Robocop 3, and I think that that's sort of what killed his career, actually, in screenwriting in Hollywood. Like, I think he wanted to move there into movies, and I think he didn't get to come back until Robert Rodriguez decided to make Sin City. I think. 3 is so bad, so bad. It's so far off base of like where RoboCop started. You're just like, they were trying to make it kid friendly at that point. They were like just trying to make it like an action movie for kids basically, and that's not what attracted anybody to RoboCop. But honestly, after the first RoboCop, there's not much more to say. He has reclaimed. Well, I mean, it's been out forever. It's from '87, so I don't care if I'm sort of spoiling a little bit what it's about, because you can still enjoy it knowing this. And if you haven't seen it yet, you just haven't seen it yet. But I think, like, RoboCop told a story. He reclaims his humanity at the end, and that's it. Yeah, it's an interesting world. Maybe you can tell some more stories there, but it's not necessary. Like we've seen the story we need to see about what RoboCop is, and it's done. So a lot of movies are like that. The first Highlander movie was very entertaining for what it is. None of those sequels worked. None of them. I'd even argue that the show wasn't that good, but at least it just sort of was like, remaking the idea in a way, and just making it longer. But yeah, some movies just basically are great. They're sci-fi. The character would work in a serialized sort of comic book type setting, but from a movie point of view, this story has been told and there's nothing more to say. So it's like you almost can't get a good sequel out of it. At best, you can get an okay sequel out of it. Because it's not necessary. Highlander had that great song by Queen, though. Actually, it has several great songs by Queen. I mean, a lot of people remember Princes of the Universe, but they have, like, what? It's a Kind of Magic, Who Wants to Live Forever, like, maybe like 3 or 4 more. John Smith asks, and welcome, John Smith, what are some of my favorite sci-fi movies? Let me think for a minute. You could certainly argue that Star Wars isn't sci-fi, that it's fantasy, but I think a lot of people still call it sci-fi because of laser guns and stuff like that. So if we count that, a lot of the Star Wars movies, I really like Star Wars. I would also say that I like all the original series Star Trek movies for the most part. Like, I mean, a couple of them aren't great, but I like the Star Trek movies too. Back to the Future, Ghostbusters. I know this is all 80s stuff. That you got to understand, that's when I grew up. 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's a movie I can rewatch a lot. I'm a fan of Kubrick. That's a great sci-fi movie. Primer is an interesting one. That's a time travel movie, kind of hard sci-fi. I would say Donnie Darko is sci-fi. I like that one. It's a weird, quirky one. I'm forgetting some. I'm forgetting some that I really love. I'm not thinking of. Well, I mean, RoboCop. We were just talking about, like, RoboCop belongs in there for me. I remember reading that the 80s RoboCop cartoon was made after the Pride of the X-Men was rejected for a series, so they made RoboCop as a series instead. That's from Mark L. Dude. I'd never heard that. I can believe it. Although I have to say, if that is the same group of people, that the animation quality from Pride of the X-Men to the Robocop cartoon is radically different and at radically different level. Like Pride of the X-Men is a really well animated pilot, and the Robocop cartoon was not good animation. James says that Gattaca is his favorite favorite movie of all. But it's 1984 Brave New World style sci-fi, not zippity zappity lasers and jetpacks. That's fine. I think that speculative fiction counts as sci-fi. Men in Black, you like too. I'm the same way, Chris. We're probably around the same age, so all those classic 80s films are my jam. They're just what I think of first. I know that there are a lot of sci-fi movies that I've seen more recently that I absolutely love, and I'm just blanking on them right now. I just had more time to think probably of those ones in the 80s and even into the 90s. I've had more time to think about those. I know that there are way more recent movies that I think are great, and I'm just not thinking of them. Have you ever read Jack Kirby's 2001 comic? I've only read snippets here or there. I have read it. It's fascinating. The first several issues, Jack Kirby basically just tells almost the whole story of 2001. He just kind of keeps reiterating, but really sort of focusing on the final act where somebody is sort of evolved by the obelisk. So like the first several issues are all the same thing, like again and again, variations on it. It's pretty trippy, interesting stuff. You can tell that Kirby was passionate about it. And then it slowly starts to form its own mythology that involves the Celestials, which you've seen in like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, It introduces Machine Man as a regular character, like on Earth. He that's where Machine Man was introduced. It's a very strange comic, but if you like both 2001 and Jack Kirby, you'll like it. But if you aren't into those things, you might just go like, "Whoa, this is too weird," you know. So it's a strange comic book. But I do like it. I have read it. I don't currently have any copies of it physically. I sold all my comics 4 years ago when I moved, and I missed some of them. One of my favorites is Blade Runner. I don't love the original Blade Runner. I like it. It's interesting. I really like the new Blade Runner. I think I like the new Blade Runner a lot more than I like the original. So that's a sci-fi movie I really like. Enemy Mine is a great film. I'd love to see a remaster version because the space shots weren't of the highest quality. That's from Fanboys Rain. Yeah, I can see that. James says Jack Kirby's Prisoner deal from the 60s. Anyone? I've read that as well, but I didn't own it. A friend had it, and I read that one in the early 2000s. I was a big fan of the Prisoner TV show. It was weird, and I liked what it was trying to do. They tried to remake the Prisoner on, I don't know, AMC or something a few years ago with Ian McKellen and who's the guy that plays Morgan on Walking Dead? Is it James something? Not thinking of the actor's name. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. They did not capture what Patrick McGowan was going for with The Prisoner. But if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking out The Prisoner. It's a weird sci-fi spy show, and I think it was only like 16 episodes, maybe. It wasn't that many, so it's not a huge commitment to rent and check out. It's just sort of like one guy who's got an indomitable will and new people are constantly trying to break him to find out his secrets. And we never have any idea what those secrets really are. We can only speculate. That's not what it's about. It's about just like people trying to break his will, and nothing does. It's great. All right, McNuggy, why isn't Star Wars considered sci-fi? It's strange thinking of it as fantasy. I guess when I hear fantasy, my mind goes to Lord of the Rings. Sure, but fantasy doesn't have to be a medieval setting. Fantasy, I think, has to deal with ideas that are more metaphysical, and has creatures and monsters that, aren't created. Like, they're not genetically grown in a lab. It's a world of monsters. It's a completely different world. It's a completely different world, I think, counts as fantasy. Some sort of a parallel reality or something like that. And I think that Star Wars, with stuff like the Force and all the different space monsters and stuff, I think it has trappings of both sci-fi and fantasy. But usually the goal of sci-fi isn't just a setting like outer space or having lasers or stuff in a lab. The idea of sci-fi is sort of speculating on what science or technology can do to, humanity. And Star Wars doesn't really explore those ideas. They're not saying like, oh, like we have a Bacta-tank that can heal people from serious injuries. Like, let's really examine that idea. No, that's just a thing that exists. What's your favorite sequel of all time? Mine is probably Terminator 2. Favorite sequel of all time? Empire Strikes Back. Or, this is a little different. I would say, but Empire Strikes Back is way up there. Like, that's one of my favorite sequels. Or if you want to say like something like Casino Royale, that's a sequel multi times down to James Bond. I think that's one of the best James Bond movies. So Casino Royale would be up there. But I was also thinking of the Jackie Chan movie, Drunken Master 2. Drunken Master 2 is fantastic. Let's see, Keelan Powell, are you a Mr. Sunday Movies fan? If not, you should check him out. He likes Godzilla Mendoza. I watched a little bit of Mr. Sunday Movies stuff. He can be very funny. Yeah. Star Wars has more fantasy themes than sci-fi. That's Fanboy's Reign. Oh, okay, that makes sense from McNuggy. Okay. Oh, Aliens. James David Settle points out Aliens. That is a great sequel. Oh, excuse me. Like when we're talking about great sequels, I have to say Godfather 2. Godfather 2 is a great, great movie. And that's a sequel. Like, that's a great movie. Wow. I haven't watched that in a while. I'm going to pull that out soon. What do you think of the Chronicles of Riddick? You know what I like in Chronicles of Riddick? I enjoyed Pitch Black as like an entertaining B movie. It was a surprise how well it was done. And then they made a video game that was set in that world, Escape from Butcher Bay, and that's really good. That's like a cool story and a fun game. The Chronicles of Riddick movie I thought was overblown. It was nothing. It was just like all flash and no substance. And then they came back with another one like. I think it was just called Riddick, and it was okay. It was okay. It's a good character. The whole world hasn't really been built in an effective way. That's nice. Nintendo says, one of my favorite sequels is the original TMNT Secret of the Ooze, one of my guilty pleasures. I can totally understand that. When it came out, I sort of enjoyed it. I heard the Riddick game was great, better than the attached movie. That's right, there was like an anime or something, completely forgettable. But the video game's quite good. Yeah, it's really strong. And it has, Vin Diesel doing the voice. I think, if I remember correctly, it had Ron Perlman in there. He's got a great voice, so that was fun. Yeah, Escape from Butcher Bay. I have no idea if that's still available on like any existing platform, but it's actually a game like worth playing if you haven't before and you like Riddick. Like, it's worth hunting down, trying to play. I think it adds to the mythology and is really, really cool. TMNT is 2 is cool. I was like 12 when that came out, so I have a lot of nostalgic feelings for it. That's Fanboy's Reign. Yeah, exactly. I do too, but it was also like it doesn't compare to how good the first one is still. It's from 1990. It was low budget. It has its issues. I would say that it is still the best Ninja Turtles movie. And there have been, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There have been 6 Ninja Turtle movies. The first one is still the best. Drawing all these sort of sharp angles and keeping it, or trying to keep it at least, in perspective is a challenge, but I think that when I'm done inking this, it'll be pretty quick and fun to throw down some colors onto it. So I'm actually looking forward to that stage. Aliens is also a great sequel. Yeah, that one was mentioned. Mark L. Dude is taken off. Aldi also says Terminator 2 is the best sequel ever. I love Terminator 2. And for a long time, that was my favorite of the Terminator movies, but I've sort of gone back to the original being my favorite. Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 are both very different types of movies because Terminator 2 is flat out action, and he's great at that. The original Terminator is really horror, and I think I like that tone with Terminator a little bit more. I love Terminator 2, but I think I like the first Terminator more. And by the way, I don't like any of the Terminator sequels, but I do like the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I thought that was a fantastic show. Boy, do I sound sort of snobby saying these things. I don't know. They're seriously just my opinions, so take it all with a grain of salt. We all have different tastes. I feel like I'm coming across like, what do you call, like a hipster or something. Like, yeah, none of the Terminator sequels are any good. Lethal Weapon 2. Sure, yeah, Lethal Weapon 2 is a fun one. So's Lethal Weapon 3 to a large extent. It's not as good, but it's not bad. Die Hard 2 is fun. Again, not as good as the original, but it's fun. There's plenty of good sequels. Not a lot of sequels that surpass the original. Not a lot. And of course, it's all sort of subjective anyway, right? Like, someone might say Gremlins 2 is better. I might say that. But it's subjective. Like, the next person might say, like, no, it's good, but the original's still better. So, to each their own. I don't think anybody's ever said Jaws 4 is better than the original. See, Fanboy's Reign is saying that Terminator 3 is a crime against humanity, but it's like, I'd still put Terminator 3 above both Salvation and Genesis. Oh, Genesis was just a mess. And Salvation seemed to abandon the ideas it was setting up. I just, no, not for me, I guess. That's all. But that's sort of another thing where it's like a property where the characters in the world of Terminator are really, really interesting, but in order for it to be good, you sort of have to like leave behind. Like Terminator 2 wraps everything up completely, is basically what I'm saying. So you have to like introduce something new. How do you get through 4 movies of people getting eaten by sharks? Sharks, says McNuggy. Yeah, nobody was eaten by a shark. Uh, I've watched a lot more shark movies than just the 4 Jawses. What is that? There's so many. There's so many shark movies I've seen. Deep Blue Sea and Shark Night and something like, what is it, like 47 meters out or something like that. That was a recent one. If it's a killer shark movie, I'll watch it. I sit through the Sharknado movies, and those are not even ironically entertaining anymore. They're pretty fucking bad. Although seeing new Arnold and old Arnold duke it out is appealing to me. Yeah, but that scene happens like right towards the beginning, and then it's over. It's quick. Oh, Dark Knight, Nintendo points out. That's true. Dark Knight is a great sequel. Like, I would say Dark Knight better than Batman Begins. So, Alexander de Macedonia joins us and says, the lack of budget and not so many FX make the Terminator a more thrilling movie. T2 is more focused on the FX and set pieces. Yeah, exactly. Because and it does great with it, in my opinion, because it becomes an action movie. But the first one wasn't really an action movie. It was a thriller. Ooh, McNuggy says that a woman was attacked by a great white down there in Australia recently. Yikes. That stuff scares me. I just saw Jaws too young, and sharks scare me. But I know they have their place in our world. They definitely do. They have their place in our ecosystem, and they're hunted too much. They're hunted too much, and they'll just like, shark fin soup is a delicacy over in Asia. They'll cut off the shark's fin and throw the shark back into the water where it just drowns, and that just seems so wasteful and cruel. And before I ever knew that, when I was very young, I'd had a taste of shark fin soup, and I'll tell you something, it's kind of gross. I don't think it's anything special at all, so it's not even worth it. So I actually support like a lot of shark conservation efforts. They scare me, but I also know that I don't I don't need to be put into a situation where a shark is a threat. And they have their place in our ecosystem. So I do try to help out with shark conservation. On the topic of sequels, Spider-Man 3, this is Keelan, Spider-Man 3 is universally hated and may be warranted, but I love that movie mainly because it's the first movie I remember seeing in theaters. So what do you think of it? Actually, I like Spider-Man 3 okay. I think it has problems, and it isn't as good as the other two. Definitely agree with that. I don't think it's garbage. I think it has too many coincidences to set things up, but I still like I like seeing those characters sort of come to their conclusions, and I think it's fairly satisfying. Like I say, there are problems with it. Totally agree. I don't think it's that bad. Some people hate that movie. I guess I get it, but I don't hate it. I don't personally hate Spider-Man 3. There are plenty of comic book movies that I do hate, and I can be very judgmental about. For whatever reason, that one doesn't bother me so much. What about Toy Story 2? Yep, another great sequel. See, we can come up with tons of great sequels. There was a time where it was like hard to find good sequels. This is a terrible example, but I like the Friday the 13th movies. None of them are exactly good, but I do think that they're entertaining. And even judged within its own scale, I think that number 4 is the best. So that's a sequel that I think is good. I think Friday the 13th Part 4 is really entertaining. Again, bad example. When you've got movies like Aliens and Godfather 2 and stuff like that on the table, and you're going to be like, and also that one where Jason kills people in slightly different ways. Okay. I think Finding Dory is better than the original. I love aquariums, so it appealed to me. That's Nintendo. Yeah, sure. Alexander de Macedonia says The Dark Knight is a great sequel. It's such a shame that Zack Snyder thought that was the way to go with Batman. Oh yeah, with just sort of adapting the most violent aspects of the Dark Knight comic book. Yeah, it's too bad. I liked Zack Snyder's 300 when it came out. I don't know that it holds up that well. It's okay. I do like his Dawn of the Dead remake. I guess I prefer the original, but I do like the Dawn of the Dead remake quite a bit. I think it's a really solid movie. So he had like those early on, and I was like, yeah, Zack Snyder's pretty good. I even like the Watchmen movie that he made for the most part. I don't think it's that bad. It's fairly loyal story wise. I think it goes a little over the top with the action, but he let me down with like Man of Steel and what do you call it? No, did he do Man of Steel? Yeah, he did Man of Steel. Then he did Batman versus Superman. Then he did most of Justice League. Yeah, it's just too dark. Superman is a very tricky character to get right. But you can. I think that they should have adapted like All-Star Superman or something like that. But I don't think that Superman is as complex an actual character as Batman or almost all of the Marvel characters. But I also don't think that Wonder Woman is the most complex character, and they were definitely able to do her more than justice. Like, I think her movie was good, very good. Not great, but very good. So if they can do that with Wonder Woman, they should be able to do a better job with Superman. But it's not just a question of adapting a good comics run with the DC characters. A lot of the DC characters just, from their beginning, they were more about just defining what their powers were than creating complex, interesting characters, which I would argue that the Marvel, that's what separates Marvel, is that their superheroes were characters with problems. I think that's what made them kind of unique, stand out. Evil Dead 2, alright, yeah. Yeah, Evil Dead 2, good choice, Aldi. I love Evil Dead 2. That's a great movie, and I do think it's better than the original. It definitely is. Cosmo says that he likes Hellraiser and he loves the 4th installment. Huh. Okay. For me, I really only like the first Hellraiser. After that, I think it kind of falls apart, but that's just me. James has a joke about Leonard Part 6 was worse than the first 5, and they didn't even exist. Hello, Sigmix. Thanks for joining. Ace Ventura Jr. is terrible. The first was great. It was okay. It was good for its time. It was very good for its time. Son of the Mask was another horrible sequel. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we can say Winter Soldier and Civil War were better than First Avenger. I would agree that they're better, but I wouldn't say, like, a quantum level. I would say that, like, first of all, Winter Soldier is probably my personal favorite of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's the one that, for whatever reason, resonates with me the most. So that's my favorite. But I still really like the first Captain America. I didn't think that one was bad. I thought that one was really, really good at setting up who he was, and making us really care about him when he could have been a really boring guy, like Too Perfect or something. They did a great job, I think, with that. Is this centered? I'm excited for Tom Hardy's Venom. Whoa, you're the one. You're the one. I like Tom Hardy a lot, so I want to give it a try. That trailer does nothing for me. But maybe, who knows, maybe it will be good. I can't say. Hello, Shirley. The Crow sequels were bad, says Nintendo. Yep. Aldi says, I even like The Matrix 2. Yeah, I wanted to. I'll put it that way. I wanted to like those. Didn't really care for them, but I wanted to like them. I wanted to. But I really didn't. I didn't like them that much. Making progress with this thing. Getting there. Only been going a little over an hour. That's not bad. Cosmos, you really like Hellraiser. That's awesome. The first one's cool. I can watch Hellraiser just for one sentence. The box. You opened it. We came. It's good. Tom Hardy really impressed me in Mad Max, so I have high hopes. That's McNuggy. Tom Hardy has impressed in many things. I think. What was that Leonardo DiCaprio movie? The Revenant. Tom Hardy was really good in The Revenant, I thought. He was good in Inception, too. That was pretty cool. He was good in that. He's been in a bunch of things that I like. So yeah, I think Tom Hardy's a fantastic actor. I just don't think Venom necessarily looks good, but fingers crossed that it's good, but I don't know. Last Jedi is pretty controversial. Is it? This is Nintendo. I personally don't like the new characters. The design for the First Order troops are fantastic, though. Well, maybe that's what makes it controversial. I love The Last Jedi. I would say it's my third favorite Star Wars. I'd say for me personally it goes Empire, original Star Wars, Last Jedi. Loved Last Jedi. Totally worked for me. The themes that they explored in that one, I loved. So, I like those characters a lot, personally. But yeah, I guess I don't know if I'm in the majority or not on that one. I just don't know. Oh, yeah. Expectations for Star Wars Solo, personally, James, my expectations are on the low side for that one. Um, I'd love to be proven wrong, but even the idea itself doesn't really excite me too much. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I needed to know about Han Solo when he was young, but who knows? Maybe it'll be good. Sigamigs, I was kind of disappointed by Last Jedi for dropping a lot of stuff set up by the first, but then I figured out J.J. Abrams' mystery box. Yeah, I think that, like, some of that stuff that seemed to be being set up by J.J. Abrams and his idea of mystery boxes, I don't subscribe to that theory that you need mystery boxes and that, like, I don't know. I was 100% on board with the revelation of like what happened to Rey's parents. I was like, yeah, absolutely. That makes the most sense. I didn't need them to be anybody special. I didn't want them to be. Anyway, yeah, everything that. But I'm also kind of a big fan of Ryan Johnson. I love Brick. Brick is a really good movie, I think. That's probably my favorite of his. And so I was kind of inclined to probably like his take on Star Wars no matter what, because I think I like his sensibilities. So anyway, who knows? But yeah, maybe that puts me in the minority. But I really really liked what they did with Last Jedi personally. Wow, a bunch of you really liked Rogue One. That's interesting. It's interesting. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I liked it. I don't know. I guess I've never really tried to go much beyond like my top 3 or 4 Star Wars, so I guess I haven't really considered where I would place it. I'd have to think about that. I'd place it above all of the prequels. I'll just tell you that. So there you go. Don't really care for the prequels. What are your thoughts on the director of John Wick making Kill or Be Killed into a movie? I saw he bought the movie rights. Could work. Could work. It's definitely got a really strong story behind it. You know, it really depends on whether they're trying to just condense everything about it into just one movie, or if they're trying to set up a franchise. Like, you know, I'm really curious how they approach that movie, because you know, it's designed to be an ongoing serialized story. It's not really designed to just be like, you know, 12 issues and we're done. It's designed to keep going for quite a long time. So and it's only like 15 or so issues in, so it's really hard to say like whether it's suited for a movie at this point. It seems a little early, in other words. But as far as the choice of director, I'm sure he's capable of it. Capable of delivering, I mean. Let's see. I think Rogue One was really carried by the characters. Yeah, it was a character piece. I mean, it was a heist movie, so it's always about the characters there. McNuggy would have liked to have seen Jedi Leia. That would have been nice. I guess they could still like recast and do something like that someday. I think that ship has probably sailed, but I guess you never really know, do you? So we know what people like to talk about, though. Movie sequels. Because, wow, this topic has legs today. And that's cool. I love movies. Nintendo says, I like the sequels for really what it gave the Star Wars universe. Not really the stories in the movies or the script, but I really enjoy the Clone Wars and the expansion the prequels gave. It's fair. I've never before wished for a movie to fail financially. I just wouldn't go myself. But man, that new Bruce Willis Death Wish movie. This is from James. I agree with you, dude. That's a movie where I'm like, you know what? I kind of enjoyed the original Death Wish. It was a trashy movie of its time. And the sequels become like laughably bad. Like they sort of peak with the third one. That's so over the top. And then 4 and 5 are just really fucking depressing. But it's a terrible type of idea for like today. Like just this guy that goes out with a gun and takes justice into his own hand, murdering people. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's what any of us really want to see these days anymore. It just seems very tone deaf and outdated. I don't know. And Bruce Willis just doesn't seem to care anymore about anything he does. So it's hard to get excited. I mean, he can be a very good actor, but he doesn't seem to most care too much on almost anything he does these days. That does not look good to me. Death Wish, Jesus. What a depressing property to have decided to remake. But what do I know? Maybe it'll be huge. Maybe it is what people want. I don't think so, though. I think it'll flop. All right, let's see. The Handyman joins and says, "What do you think that comics can do that no other medium can?" Um, I think that it can allow us to get into a character's head, but still tell things on whatever kind of scale you want. You can have as many supporting characters as you want. You can do whatever you want with the setting. There's no real budget to what kind of a story you want to tell, and you can tell it visually, which is exciting and easier than just text to absorb. So I think it can hit you. It can really punch you emotionally, kind of like film and TV can or plays. But then it can really allow you to get inside the characters and know them. So I think that's like one thing that comics can do. You can do almost anything with comics, though. What are your thoughts on deepfakes? I've heard about deepfakes, Sigamigs, but I haven't really read a whole lot about it. Like, I guess it's just like what technology that can allow you to sort of put any image into anything almost. Is that sort of right? So you could put like Nicolas Cage into any movie or something like that. I might not have that 100% right, I understand. Charles Bronson was in five parts, and that's enough. But man, Willis, yep. Yeah, there were 5 terrible Death Wish movies. Because come on, even the original isn't really that great. It's entertaining trash for its time. And I don't mind watching sort of trash, like, trashy movies, but you just sort of have to know what you're getting into. Part 3 is hilarious. Well, look, in 2 seconds, I'm just focusing on some kind of small detail here, so I'm just trying to sort of be careful. I find sometimes I start to hold my breath a little. I probably don't need to, it's just a habit. I think with the Star Wars sequels, they're missing what Star Wars actually is. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I thought that Force Awakens and Rogue One and Last Jedi all got what Star Wars was. Worked for me. I grew up with Star Wars, and I think that they're really entertaining. I think that they work. But that's me, I guess everybody's opinion varies. It varies, I've noticed. Not everybody has the same opinion on everything. Have you noticed that? I've noticed that. What else? He's not the guy for this role. They should go with the guy from The Purges instead. Yeah, that's a good idea, Cosmos. The whole from Horror Master Eli Roth in trailers sort of ticked me off. Yeah, I know, Anita Pong hit. Like, it's Horror Master, huh? It's like, does Eli Roth even really have a hit per se as a director? I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, I remember that Cabin Fever movie. What else did he do? I guess he did 2 Hostel movies. Pretty grisly stuff. What else did he direct? I think he did a movie with Keanu Reeves recently. That's all I can think of. I don't know how that makes him a master horror guy. Death Wish is definitely a product of its time, as is Dirty Harry. Absolutely. Definitely like that. Except Dirty Harry is still like a notch better because Clint Eastwood is a better actor and it's got more money behind it. So like Death Wish is sort of like, it's definitely, like the cartoon version of Dirty Harry. Hello, Software Agents Corp. Let's see. I see Cage in a thinner remake. Oh, jeez. Well, Nick Cage will do anything. I mean, my understanding is he just is hurting for money, so he has to like accept almost every kind of role. And thing is, like Nick Cage can be a very good actor. Like there's plenty of movies where he's done a great job. Even like recently, like I thought that Bad Lieutenant, New Orleans Port of Call, he did a pretty good job in that one. And certainly if you go back to like I don't know, Blue Velvet, Vampire's Kiss, stuff like that. Like, he was pretty good. He was fun in action movies like Con Air. But once he had to start sort of saying yes to everything, his career started not doing so great. Y'all remember Drive Angry? Everybody remembers the Nick Cage classic Drive Angry, right? We'll look at the chat room in just a sec. Okay, let's see. You mentioned Keanu. This is James. What did you think of Constantine? I thought that Constantine was okay. Um, it sort of did the character justice in terms of the story that he was in. He didn't really. Keanu didn't quite look like Constantine, and he didn't sound like Constantine, but the background of the character and the story that he goes through are very accurate for Constantine. So I sort of look at it as like an alternative, a very alternative take on Constantine, you know? And I think that in and of itself, that movie Constantine is fairly entertaining. It's not a terrific adaptation because it doesn't quite get Constantine, but the story is Constantine. Dirty Harry is a great film. It was very much a gritty 70s pessimistic view of the world. Very pessimistic, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Agreed. This probably looks a little weird, like what I'm drawing, but I think that when I get to coloring it, I can make it look more clear what I'm going for. Hope so. McNuggy says, gotta head off. Thanks for the stream. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for joining us. Don't get bitten by a shark. Promise me. The world needs a Dirty Harry to save us all. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, Dirty Harry doesn't really make mistakes, does he? But in real life, people do. Yeah. Aldi says the world has too many Dirty Harrys as it is right now. Probably. And James says, ask any of Dirty Harry's partners what they think of that idea. I'm pretty sure he lost at least one partner every single movie. I don't know if it was every single movie, but it might have been. It's been a while since I've seen those movies. But I'm pretty sure I watched all of them. I think there were 5. Yeah, alright, you know what? I need to clean up a few things here that, like, pencil marks, because I can't quite see what it's going to look like when it's finished. What I inked and what I didn't. Whoops. Didn't let it dry. Well, that's okay. Oh yeah, I smeared pencil all over the place. I was messy on this one. Ah, boy. I think I can clean that up, though. I think I can. Anybody discovered any good new comics lately? Or even old comics? Like, just discovered some good stories? I forgot to ask, is this G.I. Joe again? It is. This is for Hooded Cobra Commander 788's channel. He's going to be reviewing a vehicle. I had told him I was interested in drawing a vehicle at some point. He said, would you draw this one? I said, I'll try. I didn't own it as a kid. Not overly familiar with it. But it's kind of fun to take a crack at. Its gun is shaped really weird. I kind of wish I'd tried to just like simplify it in some sort of way, but it's really weird. I'm gonna actually like redo some of it. Well, not right this second. Cosmo says that Harry's partners were just lazy. Those lazy vagabonds getting themselves killed. No time for comics lately. Been playing too much God Eater 2 on my Vita. Oh, okay. God Eater 2 on your Vita. I haven't had time to play video games much lately. I miss it. But I also can't afford anything new, so... Have you read The Humans? It's an image book. It revolves around a monkey biker gang set around the Vietnam era. No, I haven't, Anita. That's... Wow, that's different. I don't know about that. Huh. The Humans. I'll try to look into that one. That sounds very different. Have you read Mind Management? I'm looking for original Dark Horse stuff. Hello, Milosh. I have read it, but it's been quite a while. So my memory of all the details in it, not great, but yeah, it's good. I like Matt Kint. He's a really original voice in comics. I definitely recommend it. I just can't really, off the top of my head right now, remember everything about it, but it was good. So definitely consider it. Just me making a mess. I would recommend putting value pencil on top of your inkings. It gives it a little more oomph. Actually, what I love to do usually is use Copics, but I'm going to be coloring this in Photoshop. It's for a specific thing, so I'm leaving it very open on purpose. Fanboys Rain says, I'm working on self-publishing another story. Probably do a Kickstarter or something for that. Well, that's very ambitious. Good luck with that. You should definitely do it. What else do I want to do? I don't know. Maybe I'm done on this one. Am I done? Let me fix this. Yeah, it might be time to start coloring and touching this up in Photoshop, I think. Fanboys Rain says, I use Prismacolors. I think they're more vibrant than Copics, but Copics are a little more natural. If I could afford Copics, I would use those. My fiance, I think I've said before, is a painter and an artist, and she recently said that she's not using any of these Copics, and there's even more to the side, and so she's like, you can have these, and I was like, yes please. I'm a huge fan of the battle damaged Optimus Prime you did back in Inktober. Really inspired me. Pretty sure I still have it. It's for sale. So anyway, if anybody's interested in potentially buying any of my sketches or something more finished painting, I don't have much here, but for instance, I did this clock here. You know what? I'm going to back out so that you can see that, and I'm about to end. Here's a clock that I painted. This is a working clock on the back. You can set it and hang it and stuff. And for fans of Friday the 13th, it has the killer for 1 through 12. And, well, maybe not the killer, but the Jason. So I've got paintings I've got illustrations. What else do I have? I don't know. Here's some old ones to the side here. I don't know where everything is. Got plenty of sort of unfinished little things. Blade. There was an attempt at like sort of Grimlock. Doctor Who, all the doctors. This one didn't quite come out right, like when I started shading the face, so I sort of gave up, but I was doing Ray. There's the 13th Doctor. I thought I had a hell of a lot more sketches here. I'm not sure where they are. And then I don't know if I'd sell them unless somebody offered a lot, but on Robots Pajamas I do a thing where I've never seen Star Trek Voyager, okay? That's just a show I've never seen. So my friend Paul will review it, and I'll read his review, and based on the review, I come up with a sketch based on it each time. So I have like a ton of these silly things based on my guess at what's happening in Star Trek Voyager. You can see them all on the robotspajamas.com. Yeah, usually I have next to no idea what's going on. Can I see Blade again? Says Milos. Yeah, hold on. I ultimately decided I didn't really want to draw like what was it, Abigail or what's his nuts, Hannibal. So, but that was what I was doing for Blade. Anyway. Got a ton of them. You can look through Inktober, and if anybody is interested in one of my sketches from Inktober or something that you've seen on the Robots Pajamas, it's all for sale. I'm just trying to make some money before the 20th when I head out to Japan and Hong Kong on a trip, and I'm just trying to make some money because I really don't have any right now. But anyway, I guess that's about it for today. I'm just going to clean this up. I'm going to color it in Photoshop, and you can see this pretty soon on Hooded Cobra Commander's channel in a few weeks. He'll be reviewing this action figure and toy, and this will be the title card art for his piece. So it was a little bit of fun. I really appreciated, though, getting to just chat with you guys about all sorts of stuff like comics and movies, art technique. That was fun. I thought that I'd have to tell personal stories, personal embarrassing stories, but that didn't happen this time. I'll try to come up with another thing to live stream sometime soon, something more in my style, like something more for me. But it's been great talking to all of you. New episode this Sunday. And I'm trying to make an extra episode this week. I think I'm going to be able to for my patrons on Patreon. So if you haven't looked before, I've got like 2 extra episodes there and some other things, various reward tiers. But yeah, good talking to everybody. Take care. Keep reading comics. Bye.